So today we are delighted to have with us Mr. Chuah Kee Man from University Malaysia Sarawak, whereby today he will give a webinar with the title Enabling Active Learning Through Technology, the Battery and the Boost. So before we start, let me just introduce you a little bit with our speaker today. Okay. Mr. Chuah Kee Man is a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Language and Communication in UNIMAS, where he majors in educational technology, computational linguistics, learning sciences and analytics, as well as instructional design. During his time as a lecturer, he has won several awards, both at the national and international level, for various innovations in teaching and learning, as well as in assistive technology. Right, so without delaying some more, let's invite Mr. Chuah Kee Man to continue with the webinar. Please do so, Mr. Chuah.
Thank you so much, Zareen. Can you hear me right? Okay, I'm checking. Yeah, thank you so much for inviting. I know it's not really, a good timing because everyone would be busy with your lectures and all that. And but thank you so much for inviting. And yeah, I'm basically trying to share a bit of what I know. Not saying that whatever I'm going to tell you today would be really good or really outstanding, but I hope you can get whatever you can from this session. And mana yang baik tu ambil lah, right? Mana yang tak berapa okay tu buang jauh-jauh. Okay, I purposely say the battery and the boost because I kind of go away. I mean, most of the time when we talk about active learning, one of the key concern or key element that we are focusing on would be the tools, the technological tools lah, software application and all that. But after going through a few sessions of sharing on all these things, and then I realized kebanyakan pensyarah or most of you who are teaching for so many years, you have kind of mastered the tools already, just that maybe you need a bit of spark in terms of ideas. So I kind of changed the focus a bit to more on the battery and the boost in a way. It's like how can we make use of whatever we know, the tools yang kita dah tahu, the tools yang kita dah belajar, all these things, and try to incorporate in our teaching and learning, especially in this condition where we are not able to meet our student face to face lah. I've heard from Dr. Zareen in terms of the frustration kan. Kita buat content, we produce a lot of videos and then we also conduct online session, and then we realize students are not really participating. So yeah, I think it's common because of a lot of factors. It could be not related to you at all, so you don't have to feel disheartened or don't have to feel sad about that situation. It's happening across the globe, not just Malaysia alone. Okay, so anyhow, I want to start with this one, but not many of you, since not many of you today, perhaps you can choose to either type in the chat or maybe you can go to this WooClap link if you want to. So either way, depending. If you're using a mobile phone, you can scan the QR code and try to go to wooclap.com/ftmk, or you can type in the chat if you want to. All right. So, but my question is simple. What does active learning mean to you? How would you define active learning? Not that kind of definition that you normally get from textbook or from references or from journal, but what does it mean to you actually if you want to have an active class or active course, or what does it mean to you? Can you probably quickly write out something for me, either in this link wooclap.com/ftmk or in the chat. So I'm gonna show the conversation a bit in case. I will also show you where is my tab? This one. Yeah. So can you go to this link up here, wooclap.com/ftmk, and then type in your answer, whatever you want to tell us about. What does active learning mean to you? Okay, I have one already. 2. You can take your time, but don't give me an essay. I don't need an essay. I just need a short statement. How many here? There's 8, but in the, I think, yeah, more or less, correct. Yep. What does active learning mean to you? I mean, your personal view of active learning. What do you want to see in your class when it comes to active learning? Just to let me know a bit, your ideation on this. Let me just quickly show you. 6 out of 10 so far, but I can't see some feedback now. Student engagement, student participation, student engaging, student learn in an active manner, being active two-way communication, interactive two-way. All right. What else? Any more coming in? 11. Actually, all are here because not many in the Teams as well. If you want to type in Teams, you can as well, right? But I'll be looking at all the aspects here. But anyhow, you can see these are quite common in terms of how we define active learning. We always want two-way engagement, interaction, communication, student learn, student and instructor engage and participate in the learning, or halfway type there. But basically, you want two-way, right? You want it to be active in a way. You don't want to be talking alone, right? You want your student to also participate and to also engage in your activities and whatnot. But if what I'm doing now, right, with a very minimal number of, let's say in a small class like this, for example, let's say you are in my class, a very small class, how would you regard as active? Do you want everyone to respond or more than half to respond? Yeah, you can type in here as well, or you can type in the chat. Does it mean that when you say active, it means everyone has to participate, or more than half, or how would you define your class to be active then? Maybe you can unmute and say out loud, since not many of you anyhow. I just want to know your ideation of active learning. All right, active interaction. All right, if you were to see here, it's quite visible that I know that you are participating in my question. But how would you rate your class to be active? Let's say out of 20, how many should be responding to your question or your activity in order for you to be happy that it's active? 100%, 80%, or more than half? What's your say? After teaching for like one whole semester of online teaching, 30, you'll be happy already. What else? More than half? Yeah, Dr. Norashikin said 20%. Zarita said 30. More than half. Anyone expecting 100%? 60%. Dr. Zarin said 60%. It's pretty hard to give a number, right? Sometimes you just feel good. Like now, if you're asking me, it's like 10 out of 13 are participating. I would be very happy already if I look at the numbers down here, right? But I may have a feeling like I'm talking alone, because right now you are responding through text, some are through chat, right? And so far I only hear Dr. Zarin's voice and also Dr. Cairo just now. So basically, it's quite subjective in a way. Sometimes you have students responding like this, but you are not happy. You don't feel like you are happy with the active level, because the interaction is not that natural. Unlike in the classroom setting, it will be easier for you to control. Of course, you don't need the student to type in the answer like this. Probably that you can just go to their their sitting place and then start asking them, and then it's more easier. It's easier to control, and the interaction can be better in a way. But in online setting, that is the challenge. And I would say, like what you mentioned here, sometimes if you get 1 or 2, you were really happy. 1% pun dah kira okay, and things like that. Because it's in an active environment, you don't get that feeling, right? Like now, kalau semua jawab sekalipun, if I get 13 out of 13 in the chat, kalau active sekalipun, I may not feel happy in a way. I may not label my class as active because the interaction is not the same, right? As compared to the class, things like that. Now, if you were to change that question to face-to-face setting or in-person teaching, kadang-kadang kita dalam kelas pun we are more or less getting the same thing. You know, if you are getting that kind of lack of responses in the online setting, you might want to compare it with before that, you know, when you're doing in person or when you're doing face-to-face teaching. Are they still more or less the same number of, you know, active engagement going on, or you think if it's face-to-face, it will be more, you know, things like that. If it's the same, then it's not the problem of the medium anymore. It could be the way you put things on, you know, on your maybe your slides or video or your other content, right? So today we'll be talking about this a bit. I don't want to bore you with all this theoretical stuff, but I really hope that we try to learn from each other, you know, in a way, and I also learn in the process of how we can make things better. But look, if you look at this this feedback that you have given me, out of 10 out of 13, you can see like active learning basically means you have all these things, you know, student engagement, participation, and all that. Now, let me get to my slide a bit. This one, I just want to tell you this thing. The issue with engagement. I think we need to understand that engagement is actually a poor proxy for learning. Like if you read further from Professor Robert Koh, and what he said was quite true. He said a student can be sitting, listening to you, doing nothing, but then eventually learn more, you know, through a lot of processes, not solely depending on you delivering the lecture. He could be doing something else back home later, or maybe, you know, studying different things and all that. Or a person who is very active, you know, participate, keep on answering your questions, suddenly did not perform well in the assessment and all that. So he's not saying that engagement is wrong. He's saying that if you just merely look at engagement as the measurement of how learning can take place, then we are a bit off track, meaning to say engagement is just one element of letting us feel good about the whole learning process. But what matters is still whether the learning take place. And in order to know whether the learning take place, you need to measure, right? You need to do a lot of formative assessment and all that. That's why now I think the challenge with online learning is it's the assessment actually, because we are not able to see the faces directly. Sometimes we are not able to be there with them and to do the necessary scaffolding and whatnot. So it becomes a bit harder to see, you know, to make it visible to us. And so we just assume a lot of things, you know, just like I told you just now. If all 13 respond to my question, does it mean that all of you are learning? It may not be happening. Or if I get full attendance, for example, are all of them actually pay attention to me? They could be just logging in and then do something else, things like that. So again, I would agree with Professor Robert Koh in terms of engagement is really a poor proxy for learning. You cannot simply say the students are not learning just because they are not responding or not communicating with you. I think you can see in a lot of cases in your assessment as well. Those who are not really active suddenly did very well in the assignment, or those who are very alert, very talkative, very very active in the class suddenly did not perform well in the exam. Things like that, you know. So engagement alone is not enough. This is what Professor Richard Mayers mentioned as constructivist teaching fallacy, meaning we always assume that in order to be active, it means only means doing, right? I think the active learning in a way, it's not just about doing things. It also means about the thinking process. Whether right now, as I'm talking, for example, are you really doing the thinking process? Are you really actively engaged in my, whatever I'm telling you, or you're just merely listening, or things like that, right? So yeah, it doesn't mean that the body has to be physically doing something all the time. And in your case, in the case of computer science and IT, a lot of time you get a lot of students who are very passive, to be honest, because I taught a lot of IT students as well for computational linguistics, and a lot of them are actually very passive. But when I ask them to engage in ideation process, joining hackathon, suddenly they come up with a lot of brilliant ideas, and I was kind of shocked at times. So it's like that, so if you are looking at only engagement as a one-way traffic of measurement, or measuring learning, then we need to rethink on how we look at this aspect of engagement and participation. All right, so I just let you know. Dr. Khairul say, you mean engagement does not guarantee learning? Yeah, you can read further on that. Just because you're engaged something, it doesn't mean you're learning, right? even though like I told you just now, a lot of students sometimes they are very talkative and they are very engaged, they so-called engaged, but suddenly when you give them assessment, they couldn't perform. Meaning engagement is really a proxy for learning, meaning something else has to be done apart from just looking at the engagement process. A lot of studies have shown, of course, the more engaged you are, the better you are in learning. And one factor that often mislead in the writing is the fact that engagement is not just about student self-reported engagement. A lot of studies, they just ask the student to self-report, and most of the time student will report a higher level because, you know what I mean, because they want to please you as a teacher. But if you really do observation, a lot of time, just because they do a lot of activities, they are engaged, it doesn't mean that they can learn better all the time. I'm not saying that they cannot, but not all the time. So the same thing like what Prof. Richard May is trying to tell you here. It's like just because you are doing a lot of things doesn't mean your brain is actively doing. It's the same thing like sometimes when you do group work, you have a lot of people, trying to juggling things, and you discover that only one that actually understand what you're doing. The rest maybe they just following, just doing. That's just active in a way. All right, but being active is still better than being passive in a way. The reason why I put up this thing because I was anticipating the same kind of idea that if we are doing online teaching, we need everyone to be participative. We need everyone to be engaged. Unfortunately, in this situation, we can't because students are in different situation. Sometimes they want to listen to you, but the home condition may not be allowing them to do so. So they would rather follow up later, maybe by watching your videos or maybe watching other people's video and things like that. So yeah, just don't feel bad about this, to be honest. But of course, if everyone is not engaging or not engaged in your lesson, then something is wrong as well. All right. Okay, but if you want to read further, you can just Google up Professor Robert Koh and then type this engagement is a poor proxy for learning. Then you'll understand what I'm trying to tell you, just in case you need to read further on that. Okay, now let's go to the active learning a bit. I don't want to go one by one because I'm sure you have gone through a lot of webinars for the past year and even today. And all kinds of all kind of webinar lah kan, workshop and everything, and telling you about all these active learning strategies. Active learning is not how to put it, it's not a method, by the way. Active learning is just a brand. It's like a big umbrella of any approaches or any strategies that allows learners to be active, right? In a way, it could be cognitively active or physically active. And you can see here, it starts from very simple reflection up until very complex, like they have to do experiential learning by visiting sites, doing some like forum theater and all this, inquiry-based learning and all that. So you can see a lot of things going on here. And under inquiry-based learning itself, you have a lot of things. You have problem-based learning, you have project-based learning. There's so many things in between, all right? But as long as you understand the concept of active learning means students are supposed to be doing most of the things rather than you, then you're fine. And talking about active engagement or learning just now, I'm not sure how long you spend for your teaching every week. Like for example, if it's a 3 credit, I'm not sure how do you divide synchronous and asynchronous, but most of the time, a lot of lecturers will go for synchronous because they feel like without synchronous, the teaching is missing, right? Something is missing in the teaching part, and they would spend more time on the live class or live session and all that. So the tricky thing about this is like what's happening now when we are so used to teaching in a class, and when we transfer that to online setting, we tend to replicate the habit of explaining too much in a way, like what I'm trying to do now lah. You see, you are so-called actively listening, and I'm actively talking, assuming that you are listening to me. And when I ask a question, I hope that you will be able to answer me. Let's say if I were to pause now, and then suddenly you just ask me, you just ask me something, or I ask you something, I'm not so sure whether the rest of the students are also paying attention to the conversation between student A and me, for example, or me, I as the lecturer and also the student. So it's pretty hard to say that, because we are not in control of the learning spaces, right? If this is happening in the classroom, in your class, lecture hall or whatever, it's easier to see this happening and it's easier for you to control. Right now, they are everywhere. They are in the comfort of the home, or sometimes they may be outside. Some of them may be working part-time. Like I have a student who is joining classes while delivering food, which is very dangerous. So you turn on and then he's doing a food panda and everything. So a lot of issues when it comes to this. And active learning doesn't mean that, like I told you, they have to be actively involved physically. That's one thing is very important, is that they may not be physically active, but if the mind or cognitively they are active, that would be good enough for an active learning to be happening. All right, so you have to kind of consider that as well. So don't immediately think about active learning as doing. All right, learning by doing is also sub of the active learning, but it's not the only one. So you have to be sure about that. Like this one, hands-on technology and hands-on means it's basically learning by doing. All right, so yeah, let me see. As you mentioned, do you have any evidence or research paper to refer in which more teachers like to prefer synchronous over? Yeah, I can share in a bit if you want to. I have a couple, but in my observation alone in UNIMAS, for example, a lot of lecturers prefer synchronous because, one, they don't like the recording of videos. I'm not sure about you, Tam. Maybe you can do your own quick survey as well. But in UNIMAS case, we noticed that a lot of teachers prefer, if it's 3 hour, they would really do the 3 hour online like this, regardless whether the students are having problem with internet or not. And to our surprise, the attendance are quite high. We were shocked actually. Like for example, last semester, because I'm part of the Center for Applied Learning and Multimedia. Before that, I was the Deputy Director for Teaching Excellence. And so when we look at the statistic for last semester means during the COVID time and the earlier COVID time, a lot of teachers are doing synchronous, and the asynchronous part is quite minimal in a way, just to support whatever has happened in the synchronous part, and the attendance is quite high. But of course, the reported part would be the assessment performance is still quite so. It's not that good, but they prefer synchronous because no pre-recording needed. They just record the session and then share it with those who cannot attend, and then they can do all this thing live with the students. So I know the issue is internet connectivity, which in Sarawak is actually a big issue, but somehow it's kind of still being preferred. So yeah, we will be more likely to see that happening because it's just so natural in terms of how to put it. We're just so used to do this in a offline setting, in person setting. So when it comes to online learning, tiba-tiba kita pun nak buat benda yang sama. Alright. Okay, I'm not going to go through one by one with you, but I would like to share because I was told to focus more on computer science and IT, aspect. But because in my teaching of computational linguistics, which I also cover a lot on programming and also human-computer interaction and all that, I noticed that these two main strategies would be helpful to kind of improve the way you use active learning in computer science and also IT. Inquiry-based learning. I just covered this topic with the USM. Actually, it is USM. I'm probably will not go into detail, but I want you to kind of set the mind clear that inquiry-based learning is really a big umbrella of many things. Like I told you just now, they have problem-based learning. Even anything related to question-based. Challenging questions and all that is under inquiry-based learning. And then of course you have challenge-based learning, which is focusing more on challenges. Both are actually essential, based on essential questioning. There are a lot of questions here, meaning you don't give the input, you give a lot of questions, and then it focuses on the solution. All right, meaning to say you don't see your learning outcome or your lesson as just delivering a lecture and then student repeat in terms of by putting in their feedback on whatever you have told them. So it reverses sikit. So meaning to say you start off with big question and try to ask them to discover some solution, and then you go through the process of discovering the answer. And during the discovery process, you actually teach them the thing that you want to teach. So it's a bit different. It's not like you tell them today I'm going to teach you this and then you do this. It's a bit reverse. You start off with a question and then they find a solution, and through the process you bring them back and then you tell them, okay, this is the right way of doing it, or this is the proper way of doing it, or things like that. All right. So yeah, I think these are the two main strategies that you should really consider inquiry-based learning. You don't have to depend on whatever I'm telling you. You can always search in Google Scholar alone. There's so many sharing on this, and also on YouTube as well. There's so many videos on this already. But what I'm telling you now is some ideas on how you can apply this, in these two things in your active learning lessons. All right. So the 4C for elective learning, based on these two, so I kind of summarize into 4Cs. But yeah, let's see whether it's going to be useful for you. All right. So we have first one, connected content. You have creative activities, continuous assessment, and constructive feedback. This should happen within one one flow of active learning process, not like beginning of the semester, in the middle of semester, or towards the end. It should happen every time you start your lesson, which will bring you to this part of continuous assessment and feedback, which will be very tiring because there are a lot of things to do for these two. These two maybe you have been doing for quite some time now, but the later part of the continuous assessment and constructive feedback, which in active learning sense should be really continuous, not the assignment, but every single lesson that you are doing with your students, you have some form of assessment. It can be graded, can be non-graded, and then they get feedback from there, and then it goes on and on until the end of the semester. So this is a bit tiring. So if you're talking about delivering content alone, and then suddenly in the middle of the semester you do assessment, it's a bit too late. All right, and the student will remain kind of like less active until when it's nearer to the assessment bit. So you try to see this as a flow of every lesson. Okay, so for connected content, I think you know this already, but yeah, make use of pre-recorded video. I know you have produced a lot of videos, maybe for your classes, and the frustration of student not watching is there, of course, because you spend time to do it, and then student don't really watch fully. Maybe some only that are really appreciating your effort. So don't feel disheartened again. But what I'm trying to tell you is, can you change a bit the way you do the video? Instead of doing it in isolation like chapter 1, chapter 2, or unit 1, unit 2, you see your video as a lead into your live class. If you have a live class, right? If you have, I'm sure you still meet your students regularly, but maybe not like full 3 hours, maybe 1 hour or 2 hour. But do your video like a lead in a way you keep it to the key concept, but you include questions, which means the video is not like how to put it, like once you watch it and then it's like that. If you're talking about active learning per se, you would include question that they would do something, all right, or respond to something, and usually the question should be the fundamentals. What I notice is a lot of students, they have very poor basics in a way. Like for example, in computer science, you want to teach them A, but they have not even mastered A minus yet, something like B or something, meaning to say those are the things that you probably want to do it in a video format, because once they go into your live class, you can focus by addressing all this issue in your questions that you are going to present in the live session or live class. Dia bukan macam dia recorded video tu not helpful. Sorry for the mistake in the spelling, but I'm not saying that all your videos are not good. You can keep those tutorial or screencasting, which is still useful, because from time to time, anytime the student need it, you can still show it. I mean, a student will also get access to that. But change one or two of your video as a lead into your live classes, all right, live session and all that. So like for example, like this one, during live class, you're going to cover A, so you can include question. All right, tools, I think I don't have to cover today, because I'm sure you have learned all this, like Loom, Screencast-O-Matic, Open Board, Tool, and Flute. These are all screen recording videos, and screen recording videos are quite useful for computer science and IT, because you kind of, most of the time you will show steps and all that, right? So these are quite useful. Now we go to creative activities. I think connected content, the key word here is not just the content, it's more on the connected part, because try not to treat your videos, the pre-recorded video, as in isolation. It's like isolated from your lectures, right? So the student need to know that they need to watch it and then they attend your live class, or vice versa, meaning after they attend your live class, they have to go back to the video if you do it as a post-class activity or post-class content. What I mean here is the student need to see the relationship between why you are putting up the videos and then you are meeting them live as well. So always try to buffer that, and whatever you can deliver in the pre-recorded video, you deliver first, and then you make use of the live session like this to tackle the other issues, or you can do more activities with them, right? So that they see the relationship, or else they will think like, don't have to come to the live class because later on I can watch the video again, or things like that. The lecturer will give the video again, so they don't feel the need to attend your live classes, because both are isolated, right? I mean, I hope I get myself clear here. Once it's isolated, it means I can choose either or, right? But if it's connected, then I have to come for both, because without doing this, I will miss out one part. And once you do this consistently for let's say 2 or 3 weeks, students start to notice the pattern. You will notice a change in terms of the engagement and also the participation as well. All right, so I don't know, Matt, you can try, but in my case, I noticed that change as well. And if you would like to treat this as an action research, it would be good as well. Just check in terms of the change that you have done. Okay, now let's go to creative activities. Activities here is like more to challenge based, right? Treat every activities that you do in your lesson as a challenge, not like a normal activity that like jom kita jawab soalan ni, or or like what I did just now, maybe asking you a very general question. They might not feel like they want to participate. So you can change it into a challenge, like a sequential challenge, all right, like in a game, things like that. If you have very small number of students, like less than 50, you can afford to actually do individual challenge. If it's more than 50, then you might want to do a paired challenge or maybe a group challenge. So as long as they know the group members, so you can make sure that every single week when they attend your class, there is a challenge. Again, once you do this consistently, the student will see the pattern. They will start to notice that, okay, every week we have a challenge. So they have to really make an effort to really read up and then come to attend your live class, for example, or maybe attend your session. Okay, provide opportunity for students to be active. Like now, if you notice, I've been talking for quite some time. So if you would like students to be active, then you should give students the chance to be active rather than you keep talking for 1 or 2 hours, for example. So if it's a classroom setting like now, I would probably stop talking already, and then students should be doing something. Doing again may not be physically doing something. You can ask them to reflect. You can ask them to write down some important things or whatever, as long as there's a habit of letting them to be part of the session, not just you talking non-stop. All right, go for variety. Repeating the same thing several times create boredom as well. Okay, this is quite true. Like for example, when you are so used to doing tool A, let's say you like Kahoot so much, every now and then you do Kahoot all the time, and then you will notice that students will lose out their interest, because I think it's quite common. there's no element of surprise anymore, and we know the element of surprise actually generate dopamine, and dopamine will keep you motivated and you want to do it because sama, keep on doing the same thing over and over again, so it may not be good as well. Okay, make use of real world program events that simulate challenges. I think in computer science and IT, what I saw, even in my university, is like it's a bit isolated from the real world. You have this real world stuff doing a lot of exciting things, and then in the program of study are doing more on the lecture style and all that, so it doesn't match in a way. So you might want to take some ideas from the real world program and then put it in your classroom activities, or maybe your virtual classroom activities and all that. So I put here some useful tools like breakout rooms, Miro, Genially, Padlet, Wakelet, Edabit.com. Edabit.com for computer science is quite good because you have a lot of challenges for programming and all that. So student can actually do, I'll show you in a bit, but breakout room is quite useful. Like now I'm supposed to try out breakout rooms, but how to put it? I just realized that the breakout room is not really working for my end because of the tool. But anyhow, not many of you, so we can do individual. So breakout room means, I think you split them into their breakout rooms, let them discuss, and come back to you for answers or for some solution and all that. So like, let me show you now. This one, okay. It was supposed to be a breakout room challenge, but we can do it. Individually.
Mr. Kee Man, sorry to interrupt. If you want me to put them in a breakout room, I can do that.
How
Do you want
there?
that, or there's 20,
yeah,
22 maybe, including us?
Then maybe random group of 4.
Random.
Maybe? Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you so much. So what happened is, in your breakout room, you just have to spend 10 minutes to answer this question: who is the killer and why? And then each group go to this link, padlet.com. I'm going to type it here. Padlet.com.
All right, so I'm breaking them to 5 rooms, yeah?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I think only the host can do it, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Teams can do breakout room actually, quite nice because it comes with the chat function. So once you're in your breakout rooms, just do that and then go to the Padlet and type in your reasoning.
Ya. Lepas tu, pening.
Tapi kan nantilah last jawapan dia apa tau? Jawapan dia semua boleh jadi killer sebenarnya.
Ya ke?
Oh, ya ke?
Oh, ni soalan apa ni?
Ni dah dekat tim lain pula.
Kita dah back.
Kita kan?
Oh, dah back.
Oh, dah back dah.
Oh, dah back Allah.
Mana which group yang belum type jawapan di apa tu? Di show. Di Padlet. Yang mana yang belum type di Padlet tu? Ada tak?
Syaril ni grup berapa?
I think sama grup dengan Pak ni. Ada siapa lagi yang belum type?
Belum. Tak dapat link tadi. Dah hilang.
B-type sekejap jawapan before we move on sikit. But itulah, because I'm not the host, so I cannot control the breakout room. Sepatutnya kalau kita guna breakout room for any session, you can go into each room kan. You can actually go and monitor each discussion lah. Okay. Because by entering each room tadi, for example, kalau I go to one room by one room, then I will know which room yang aktif, which room yang tak aktif. Betul tak? Because you can see group yang sangat rancak berbincang, ada yang maybe tak bincang langsung, tapi dia masih berfikir. Dia bagi respon through chat, for example, things like that lah.
Kerana image lihat seperti penyamar.
Apa dia? Pembunuh kerana image. Good reasoning, good reasoning. Good reasoning. Hanya
Mr. Kiman,
perempuan.
kalau kita dah breakout session ni, dia boleh record ke setiap room punya recording?
Unfortunately tak
Session.
dapat. Unfortunately tak dapat.
Oh ya ke?
Dia macam
Okay, alright.
dia only record the main meeting saja. Tu yang kalau you tengok recording now, dia reset balik ke time dia. Dia recording time dia reset balik.
Okay, baik-baik. Thank you.
What you can do, I'm not sure about kalau Zoom, every individual room tu you can allow the person to start recording balik lah. Maksudnya dia jadi banyak recording pula. So you can have every room dia record sendiri pun boleh. Kalau Zoom lah. Tapi team ni macam tak dapat so far as far as I know lah. Maybe kena check balik sama ada dibenarkan ke tak. Every room record dia punya session juga.
Okay, baik-baik.
Itulah.
Sorry nak buat.
Ya.
Saya rasa feature tu pun ikut apa kita punya license yang universiti kita subscribe kan?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. Tapi breakout rooms yang I notice the best is bila kita buat breakout room, kita kena masuk room tu. Kita kena masuk sekejap, tengok sekejap tu, keluar balik. Kalau tak, memang student dia apa ni? Ada akan jadi ada yang pura-pura aktif pun ada, things like that. But it's a good alternative lah. You know, breakout room is one good alternative to do active learning lah, right? Okay, we have sekarang kita ada berapa jawapan ni. Nampaknya macam nombor 3, room 4 pun kata nombor 3, knife is missing. Room 2 kata pembunuh ialah nombor 3 sebab mangsa bunuh kat toilet perempuan. Okay, kita tengok balik. Tapi yang reasoning for room 5 dia kata yang nombor 3 tu nampak macam lelaki, right? And then only perempuan masuk toilet. So I think reasoning I mean this is one way to lure your student to respond to something lah kan. Sometimes when we give an incident like this, kita link balik dengan apa yang kita nak ajar. Contoh kalau kita ajar computational thinking, so we can link back cara dia dapatkan reason tu to a lot of things kan. Macam dalam computational thinking kita ada abstraction, kita ada decomposition and all that. So kita relate balik nanti. Tapi semasa dia berbincang di breakout room tu, kita jangan halang lah kind reasoning. Tapi betul lah tadi, jawapan dia banyak jawapan ni. Because it depends on the reasoning kan. Ada yang kalau yang ni sebab obviously dia punya knife tu missing, tapi yang ni pun tak ada knife juga kan. And then yang nombor 1 pun tak nampak sangat apa dia punya the utensils, and sama ni pun guna tangan. So but the most likeliest answer will be nombor 3 sebab dia ada banyak lagi sebab yang reasoning yang boleh menyokong jawapan dia nombor 3. Contoh tak ada knife, ni toilet perempuan, and then keberangkalian killer tu adalah nombor 3 tu adalah higher. Tapi I'm sharing you this one because I gunakan yang ni untuk one of my classes, and that classes adalah 75 pelajar, so I break them up. So it was part of the just to lure them to discuss lah, and I enter every room. Ada satu room tu dia kata dia go for the extreme, dia kata yang ni pakcik ni yang the killer, which is actually not in the option. Kalau option 1, 2, 3, 4 kan. So they actually discuss and then they agreed that this one is the tu sebab dia sahaja yang boleh bergerak-gerak. Yang lain tengah busy makan and all that. Contohlah and all that. So what I will tell you is when we embrace active learning sebenarnya, kadang-kadang kalau kita nak embrace active learning, we cannot really just jump straight to one answer kan. We need to allow them to explore dulu and come up with all kind of reasoning. Macam yang room 05 tadi, dia kata yang nombor 3 ni dia boleh menyamar sebab nampak macam lelaki. Yeah, it could be because after all this is just a teaser, and the lukisan pun memainkan peranan. Kalau lukisan dia tak berapa cantik, and then it can give all kinds of assumption kan. In fact kalau you nak kata 1, 2, 3, 4 semua betul pun boleh, cuma we still have to come back later after they have discussed, and then because they have actively contributed to the thoughts, and then kita bring them back, kita kaitkan dengan kita kaitkan dengan apa yang kita nak ajar. Contoh kalau I told you tadi, I'm teaching them computational thinking, so I will tell them kenapa yang ni tak boleh, kenapa yang tu tak boleh through the computational thinking punya processes, something like that. So kalau I terus guna macam programming code ke apa ke, dia akan jadi terkejut, right? Dia akan rasa macam overwhelming. So we start with something very light dulu, then we lead in, then they are more likely to participate sebab dia dah dapat tangkap dah apa konsep yang kita nak tunjuk. Then slowly kita move on lah. Okay, of course I'm not saying that this will work in every classes. Again, like I told in many of my webinar pun I selalu cakap, learning is very contextualized. Whatever is working in one class may not be directly works in the work in another classroom. So but you have to kind of maybe experiment and get the ideas and see whether it works in your context lah, kan? Boleh cuba. Okay, brain teaser I notice is one good alternative for active learning, but again don't do it all the time. Kalau tiap minggu buat macam ni pun, student pun akan rasa macam boring juga kan. Even us pun, kalau we keep on getting the same thing pun, we will feel bored of the content. Alright, so this is one. Thank you so much for participating walaupun sangat singkat tadi. Yeah, this is what I meant tadi. Event happening outside yang selalu berlaku, tapi kita jarang nak simulate dalam kelas use. For example, one hour coding challenge, like hour of codes, startup weekend punya konsep, even hackathon punya konsep, 54 hour punya ideation and all that. So contohlah kita bagi assignment, biasanya kita akan bagi assignment according to what we normally do, and the typical style and all that. So maybe in one of our assignment, our project, we can relate to all these concepts, what is happening outside, the concept of hackathon, the way they do it and all that. Kita kaji dulu mana yang kita boleh guna, kita try to guna, and then kita serapkan dalam our assessment mode and see whether it helps student to kind of be more actively involved sebab they see the connection. So dia kata, apa yang kita buat ni memang nanti kita keluar, kita akan we are going to be relevant in this kind of context. Kita tahu konsep-konsep yang selalu ataupun event-event yang berlaku outside. So I think it's quite good to do this. Kalau tak nanti they again feel like the isolated case where whatever they are learning in the courses or in the classroom is not reflecting what's happening outside. And as you know, IT dengan computer science ni is something very very fast moving industry kan. There's so many things happening outside, so they have to keep tab of what's happening in the outside industry. Right. This is one example as well. So I make use of this hackathon punya concept, tapi I don't do it in 54 hours. I do it in 4 weeks. Basically, it's their project. Normally, I would just give them the rubrics and then they do it. But for the past 2 semesters, I change the concept where I follow macam hackathon punya concept, and then they do ideation, they do the prototype, and then every session is like a challenge, right? So I make use of the like a superhero punya team. So I gabung semua lah, tak kisahlah, whatever Marvel ke apa ke. So I created like a challenges like this, as you can see. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 because it's actually 7 units of content for 14 weeks. So every station they spend about 2 weeks. Every stages they spend about 2 weeks. Every week ada challenge and they have to complete tasks. It's not about listening to whatever I told them only. So sometimes the videos have been there, so they can just watch the video first or read the articles that I've given them first, and then when they come to the live session or even class, if it's in hybrid mode, they will do all the activities that I told them lah. For this one, I use Padlet, as you can see. It's also quite useful. Padlet I think is one of the easiest to use as well. Kalau you nak them to document, like all the name up here are the group names, so everything they will compile in one, so it's easier to monitor as well. So this is one way to increase the active learning part lah. All right. You can also make use of Genially. I'm sure you have attended a lot of workshop on this, but Genially, I recently experimented with escape room, with the virtual escape room. I shared in the USM punya webinar juga the other day. I think this is quite interesting for students. Like this one, I snap one of our labs. This is our gamification lab, tapi kita teraburkan lah. We make it berterabur, and then we ask them to. I use Genially to do this. So I asked them that I actually hide 5 things here, like codes or whatever, or things that they need to solve, right? So they need to solve the codes, and this one they have in 10 minutes, 5 codes. So this was teaching them on the apa ni? It was part of machine learning punya tu, but they have to solve the machine learning punya, one of the machine learning punya algorithm lah. So they have to combine all the 5 things that they discovered in the room and then discovered the answer. So this one I did it individually because it's virtual, and I run it like what I'm doing now. So instead of offline, meaning kita buat live class, dia masuk and then explain a bit and then kita buat. So dia macam tadi 10-minute breakout room, but instead of they pergi breakout room, dia pergi ke link yang I bagi, which is the Genially punya tu escape room, and then after 10 minutes they have to submit their answers from one of the point here, which is here actually. Dalam dia kena click kat sini untuk submit the answers. But I modified this for one of the session the other day. I also modified to something simpler just to show you. Kalau nak cuba nanti boleh, you can cuba yang, kalau yang belum pernah try escape room, you can try this. I bagi link kat sini kalau nak try. Later lah, bukan now. This is the modified version, not the one I did for my class. To let you see how it works. So if you see this in your context of computer science or technology, then there are many things you can do with escape room concept. You don't have to even do like 5 codes or whatever. Let's say you're teaching them programming, you want them to understand syntax. But a lot of students, they don't get the logic punya, the logical syntax punya thing. So you can turn it into an escape room where you tell them like they have to break a code. So they have to find some, find solution to all the problems that you put in here lah. You don't have to spend so much time on this. So I think if you can do a good 3 or 4 questions, that will be good enough. But janganlah terlalu simple in a way. They still have to think a bit, and that will be useful. Alright, and it doesn't have to be 10 minutes. It can be 30 minutes kalau nak. Kadang-kadang student they ask for more because they are so excited and so obsessed with this. So when you do your virtual class, instead of dia datang virtual class, you listen to you can spend maybe 1 hour just for the virtual escape room. But you have to tell them earlier lah, meaning plan awal, macam nak buat team strategy pun boleh. They can actually read up first and then do it, when they come online or when they are virtually there. And what is more important is every time you do all this activity, tak kisahlah weekly ke, bi-weekly ke, it's always good to have a leaderboard and leaderboard macam ni. I show you. Guna Google Sheets or Excel pun boleh. It's always good to have. I deleted the name lah. It's always good to have a leaderboard with all the student name, and then you have the score like macam ni, team challenge 1, team challenge 2, team challenge 3, and that. Because this kind of motivate them that if kalau markah dia kurang, meaning that week dia tak datang, for example. So each individual, I give them a role lah, like the prime, protector, thinker, maker, energizer. Each of them, kalau dia tak datang that week or kalau dia tak hadir ke virtual class, alright, then they are going to jeopardize the team punya performance. So you can see how they will be they feel like they have to come to class not only because they want to learn, it's because like they are putting responsibility on the group itself. Semua kena excited. And when you make it visible like this, lagilah dia terasa, because every class you akan nampak all this visibility of learning. Not quizzes, this Google Sheet. Okay, anyhow, so once you have this and then you give the score, that's where you kind of like know lah. Of course, it's not just for the fun of it only. It's also a feedback to you. Kalau lah you have 70 students and a lot of them cannot get the code or cannot answer your question, means something's not right. So meaning those are the things that you can tackle lah nanti in your teaching. Perhaps you have to relook at the question ke, or maybe fix the video that you explain that part ke, ataupun you do a special session only on that particular topic, for example, depending. So it's also a diagnostic punya element in your teaching. Okay, so can try this. I can share the video on how to do this on Genially, because to me Genially is the easiest tool to do a escape room. You can actually do escape room using Microsoft Team punya breakout room pun boleh. Cuma the breakout room is like they have to solve it in the room itself lah. Cuma challenging sikit lah sebab dia kena pergi ke breakout room and then selesaikan masalah, and then once they give you the correct answer, you bring them back to the main meeting room pun boleh. Cuma dia tak berapa exciting lah, alright, because they just see talking to themselves, alright. So assessment for learning, I think this is quite critical. If you want active learning to happen, you cannot ignore this, and it doesn't have to be like I said, graded. Tak perlulah graded all the time. You just make the what I'm trying to highlight here is you have to be consistent. You kena consistent in doing this. Kalau kita buat seminggu lepas tu kita tak buat lagi, student tak nampak pattern dia tak akan jadi aktif lah, sebab dia dah nampak that we gave up in the consistency of planning of this whole process. So for example, kalau regular assessment ni, let's say you dah bagi content, you dah main all this virtual escape room, so you can reserve maybe like 10 minutes or 5 minutes just to do a simple quiz, for example, right? Boleh guna quizzes, Quizlet, Kahoot, Google Form, whatever, just do a simple quiz. And how to put it, kalau boleh, kalau assignment tu ataupun yang project kena ada coherence lah, link from one topic to the other ataupun from one assessment to the other assessment, so dia nampak dia punya continuity tu. And I think this one you already know, as alternative assessment with proper rubric, kena ada rubric. Kalau tak ada rubric, it's not going to be helpful for your assessment. So yeah, and then allow rooms for reflection. Yang ni penting juga. So every time habis kelas tu, bagi je Padlet ke apa ke, suruh dia bagi feedback. Yeah, they some may not write, some may write, just tak apa, dia bagi je. Kalau nak buat di LMS, gunakan forum, every week tu ada je ruang dia bagi reflection. So the whole point is to be consistent, and bila you consistently do, and then a lot of students are doing it, and those students yang tak buat, dia akan apa ni, nak kata terasa tak lah, tapi dia akan, walaupun dia tak jawab, sebenarnya dia membaca. That's the good thing. That's why I told you, jangan terasa sedih bila ada yang tak respond to the forum ke apa, because sometimes they actually read, right? And that's why sometimes dia tak jawab pun, tiba-tiba dia boleh jawab bila you tanya dia. Kadang-kadang I nampak kalau student tak jawab, the next class in the virtual session tu, I will call the name terus. Okay, contoh Ali, kenapa last week tu you tak respond to do? Boleh tak diterangkan sikit? Tiba-tiba dia boleh terang, for example. Meaning to say, walaupun dia tak jawab dalam forum tu, sebenarnya dia tahu pun. Cuma dia tak tulis sahaja, contohnya lah. Okay, these are some strategies that you can use to encourage your student to be active. Once you do this once or twice, I notice, even panggil nama pun and all this, if you know them, right, that will be advantage. Once they see that pattern happening and they see you being so active as well, those students dia akan jadi aktif juga, right? Sebab dia malu, right? They feel ashamed that they are not doing more, right? I think this one has been shared a lot. You can also use WhatsApp to engage your student. Ni kalau yang low bandwidth lah. Kalau ada yang masalah, kadang-kadang random bagi soalan macam ni pun boleh. So but use hashtag, senang nak cari. Sebab kalau dalam WhatsApp dia tak ada fungsi nak tag or tu, so you have to ask them to use hashtag lah. Okay, itu satu cara. Ni quizzes. I'm not sure if you have used this a lot. I dibagi tahu apa ni, Kahoot sekarang dah susah sikit kalau you tak bayar, sebab dia limit by play. So another alternative would be quizzes. I selalu guna quizzes sebab dia tak perlu dimonitor. I mean tak perlu lecturer untuk click next one by one. You just do it as like a live session, so they do it on their own. Siapa yang habislah, alright, cepat, and then you close it when the time is up. So things like that. So from there you get to see the reporting, you will see which question is problematic. Like this one, I get to see which question yang paling susah and all that, things like that lah. So using this kind of tool is just to help you to visualize, kan. Kalau kita hanya agak-agak, kita tak dapat the record of what's happening behind. So it's always good to have this kind of record, right? This is dah kita tadi. Oh yeah, this one, if you are doing it on Google Sheets or Excel, for example, make it visible in if you're using LMS, just put it in the MS besar-besar, like a team leaderboard or something, so that they will constantly check, right? They will constantly alert, and if you update, sikit kali pun, you will see them get very excited, right? And they sometimes, in my case, they step short and share it on their social media, saying that okay, our team dah naik sikit, so that. So you know that they are putting quite a serious thought on on the things that you're doing with them. All right, so things like that. Okay. Lastly, give meaningful feedback. Constructive feedback is quite important. Kalau nak guna tools, I think you know some of the tools already, like Google Docs, Voice Note, Flipgrid. Cuma this is the one yang akan menentukan sama ada yang aktif tu akan terus aktif ataupun yang tak aktif tu akan aktif. Because if you constantly ask them to do something, like I ask you to do this, tapi I tak bagi feedback langsung, sampailah bila assignment dah hantar, bila I mark, then baru I bagi tahu and all that, then they will lose the interest to be active. Right? I'm not sure whether it's happening in your case, but I can see it happening in my case. So, but the moment you tak bagi feedback and the students start to be a bit slower in responding, they don't feel like want to participate anymore because macam tak ada motive for them to participate. Alright, so again, like I told you tadi, the part yang continuous assessment dengan meaningful feedback ni lah yang akan menjadikan kita agak letih, because we need to be alert, and try to give feedback as many as possible lah. Cuma ni lah individualize ni. Kalau kelas kecil is okay. Kalau kelas besar sangat, then you don't have to go for individualized feedback. You can go for the general one yang make it visible lah. What happen is a lot of feedback kita keep to the student, and sometimes the same student may be facing the same issue. So you might want to also share it in your LMS. You just give a general feedback without mentioning names, of course. So these are the problems in learning in learning some of the unit or learning some of the content, and for example. Cuma I know in computer science, like for example programming, it's a bit hard to go individual also, because and there's also an issue of copy and pasting, right? There's so many sources out there, so there's a tendency for them to copy and paste. So yeah, you need to probably design the task in such a way it's quite unique to every group or every individual, so that macam tadi lah, yang who is the killer tu, so they can come up with different reasoning as long as they can justify. So I know it's a bit hard, but you can, I'm sure you can think about how to do that. All right, so these are some sample. Macam Google Doc is a good one, I think, and there's so many already. So Discord also quite good. Kalau you nak manage your student in a large group especially, you can try to use Discord, because the good thing in Discord ialah kita ada live session ni, kita boleh quickly go to the voice part or video part and then start explaining things. Contoh kalau I bagi kat sini, if I go to this Discord yang I shared the other day, and then dalam Discord you can invite bot, like this one I invite QOTD, question of the day bot. This is a sample the other day I used for another webinar, but I shared here. You can insert bot or robot to your Discord channel, and then it will do your job. Like this one, if you want to ask them to respond to question of the day, so you just specify here, and then student will be able to see the question without you monitoring lah kalau you nak. But one thing I like about Discord ialah bila kita tekan this talking zone, kalau tekan kopitiam. Okay, so I can start the session immediately like now, and then I can share screen. Oops, sorry, allow here. Then I can share screen. Let's say share the screen. Okay, nampak? So because it's like this one, so I can immediately detect, let's say I immediately detect some problems, and then I can immediately do some explanation here, and I can add the student into this particular session, and I can explain dalam Discord lah, without having to invite them to another platform. So contoh kalau kita bincang dalam WhatsApp, right? Kalau kita bincang dalam WhatsApp, tiba-tiba kita nak explain to all, kita type everything very hard. So this one kita ada voice, so kita can quickly do our explanation to everyone kalau kita notice ada problem in the way they do things. So it also come with threaded. Kalau dalam Telegram or dalam WhatsApp, it's very hard for you to categorize things. So kalau dalam Discord ni you can categorize according to your topic. You know, you can go by unit even. So you can go by thematic approach and all that, and you can start type your question and student can respond. And the good thing is you can even give role to your student. So like this one, you can give them different role. Like if I type on one of the profile here, sorry. If I click on one profile here, I can add roles. So the role can be the group lah. Dia boleh jadi group lah. So kita type group tu siap-siap. And then we can give them different name, like this one initiators. So dia nampak macam okay, yang ni dia dah di naik taraf ke the initiators and all that. Kalau kita nak group lain, kita boleh tak like moderators or something. So this gives the element of they know that you're monitoring them. At the same time, they also know that they are being involved in the whole active learning process. So I think it's quite critical for us to do this. Kalau dalam WhatsApp, it feels a bit one way, right? Even though WhatsApp is meant for two way, because dalam group tu ramai sangat, and they don't get the personalized punya interaction. Kalau dalam ni, they get to do that, because dalam Discord, you can define the roles here. You can add as many roles as you like. Alright, and I do encourage computer science and IT punya courses to try this, because it's very relevant to IT student and computer science student. Kalau Discord ni memang one of the popular one dalam dunia gaming and even programming and all that, right? So you can go to, kalau you go to Discord, kalau you discover ni, alright, explore public servers ni banyak sebenarnya. So kalau you type programming, you can see other channels. They even have dedicated one for different community, like this one, coding and programming community, and then something like this. Alright, you can see what's happening. This one I tak join lah. Okay, kalau nak you can join. What I mean here is, it's like a one-stop center for you to also encourage your student to look at what's happening in the outside world. So taklah dia rasa macam dia belajar IT ataupun computer science tapi stuck in the textbook punya mindset lah. Walaupun memang kita introduce many things, tapi student akan nampak macam kita asyik guna benda sama. Padahal kita dah, we tried a lot of things. So try to encourage them to think beyond that by engaging them with this kind of environment lah, a different type of learning spaces. Taklah macam selalu guna, the same old like WhatsApp or Telegram yang they may not be excited about. Okay, yeah. Let me go back here. Ada lagi tak? I don't know. Okay. No more. Kita pun dah almost 4. Okay. But I want to apa ni? I want to highlight this lah, when you talk about active learning ni, kita kena scaffold to success sebenarnya. Sebab dia memang letih lah, to be honest. Saya pun, my own experience pun memang rasa letih kalau kita betul-betul nak embrace active learning, and then we really want learners to be active. Kita pun kena aktif sebenarnya, and bila kita aktif, kita pun rasa macam tired juga. we are also kalau satu kelas okey lah, kalau banyak kelas pun kita akan rasa very very tiring. So what happened is that just now I said engagement is a poor proxy for learning, because a lot of studies have shown it's people always ask, is it motivation first or learning first? Is it do you need to have motivation to learn, or you need learning to be motivated? These are the issues. And in a lot of studies of late, we noticed that a lot of students, they are no longer motivated to learn in a way. It's because when they start to learn, they feel like it's too difficult or too disengaging in a way, ataupun they don't feel like there's a motive to learn. That's why they are not motivated, because there's no motive to learn anyway for them. And in life as well, I think we realize this, even us pun, like if we have let's say 50 courses, tak semua kita akan suka, right? It's not everything we will like, because we don't see the same motive for all the processes. So this is what's happening in learning now, especially in this distant learning ataupun remote teaching ni. We will see this even more. The student don't feel like they want to learn, not because they are not motivated in a way. It's like the learning itself is not motivating, right? So it's like what Asner 2020 said this. One problem with the idea that learning leads to motivation is that if learners haven't learned something, they may not be motivated to start, and they need an early taste of success. And this is the problem with with a lot of fields, right? Sebab I don't blame them as well. I don't blame the program. I don't blame the lectures because it's just how things works in a way. Contoh, pelajar masuk computer science tapi dia memang dia tak minat pun computer science, for example, from the beginning. So it's very hard for them to feel it because the interest is not there from the start. But once we tell them, if let's say coding is simple, you know, we do something light first and start to pull them in and all that, which is not a one-man show. You cannot do this only in one course. It takes a whole thing to do it, a whole program to do it. Then they will probably be more motivated to learn. And again, like I told you, who will be able to spend so much time to do this, right? So the bottom line of all this that I'm trying to tell you is, jangan rasa terlalu kecewa kalau student are not active or student are not engaging in your task and all that. That's my bottom line, because I don't want you to feel like macam, you know, a lot of lecturers are feeling this because they get very frustrated and they start to show that kind of frustration when they are doing the assessment on the students. So for example, dia nampak, okay, pelajar ni jarang menjawab dalam kelas saya. So I bagi markah rendah sedikit. Contoh, this is for those yang subjektif lah. Kalau yang objektif tu memang sedikit. So it's affecting a lot of things in a way. Alright, but we just have to accept the fact that sometimes for learning, it's the learning that happens first before the student can be motivated, rather than motivation first and then learning. So it's the issue that we are facing now, and I notice it becomes even more apparent during this period. And what you can do, maybe later on you can Google up motivation for learning, and you maybe limit your search to, if dalam Google Scholar tu kita limit ke 2020 onwards, or maybe 2019 onward. You will see like during the pandemic punya period, some studies were done and they noticed this change of habit, and it's not in Malaysia alone, it's across the world, and students are losing that because the learning is no longer pulling them, right? So a lot of issues lah in a way. Okay, so ada tak soalan? Kalau ada, just I would probably, the slide is there, bit.ly. I'm going to type it here kalau nak slide tu, but I would prefer to spend the next few minutes to kind of listen to you as well kalau ada pendapat lain, because yeah, I'm learning as well. I know a lot of expert in UTM juga, and they are doing very, very well in you know, promoting active learning, promoting problem-based learning. So really, really admire all the effort. Just that, like what I told you just now, jangan terlalu kecewa lah kalau kita rasa macam ramai yang tak aktif. Tapi sebenarnya bottom line is the way we make sure that they learn. Tu yang penting. So kalau learning outcome to achieve, kalau a lot of students are not really engaging in terms of your task and everything, it's fine lah, asalkan learning outcome to achieve, right? So, even though we may not be happy of the whole thing, you know, kadang-kadang kita rasa macam betul ke student ni dengar, you know, what I'm sharing and all that. So a lot of issue. Okay, any other thing? Alright, kalau ada, sekejap I tengok sikit di ruang chat. Escape room macam best. Yeah, you can try later. Good idea guna Discord. Tak aware ada bot saya guna untuk communicate dengan. Yeah. The bot pun can support in HP. I think I was quite surprised with Discord. Saya sebenarnya sangat terkejut dengan Discord sebab mula-mula when I tried out, I thought it's going to be quite heavy, you know, macam high bandwidth lah. But when I check with the student, actually they can load the Discord better than sometimes WhatsApp tak dapat load, Discord dapat load. So it means Discord is quite okay lah to use as a communication tool. But you can also have bots to help you. Dalam sample that I show you just now, I can also have quiz bot. I can start the quiz kalau quiz ni. Alright, so I can start macam hari tu I ada test kat mana lah. This one the sample tadi. This one quiz. Contoh I can use the command. The quiz ni you can go to quizbot punya website and then do the editing dulu, and then baru invite the quizbot tu dalam your Discord, and then bila you bagi command like this, the quiz will start, and then student will answer. Now I dah start balik the quiz lah. Things like this. So student boleh jawab. So dia contoh, what is your I? Satu. So So a lot of students can jawab lah. So that's one way of using Discord. Okay, any other question just in case I miss out? Yeah, I'm looking for. Ada tak?
Right. Kalau ada soalan, you
Nak
can
unmute pun
just
boleh.
unmute boleh ataupun terus WhatsApp message dekat chat.
Kalau ada lah.
Kalau tak ada, maybe so that's one question in the chat.
What do you do for student? Oh yeah, this is another issue. Apa ni? Normally, this is my way lah. Kalau ada student yang memang tak involve langsung, I would normally ask them to each group tu, kalau is a group kan, I will ask them to reach out to me immediately. Mana-mana group tu, ketua ke, kalau bukan ketua pun, they have to reach out to me immediately. And mana yang dia rasa tak sleeping partner tu, they give me the name, alright, I will approach them. And normally what will happen is they will form a group yang mana-mana yang ada masalah ni, I will form a group with all of them, and I am also one of the group member. So it happens to me that I mean, I learned this technique from one of my mentor, and I realized it's quite useful. When you tell them that because your other group tak nak you, because you're not contributing, you have to be in my group and I will be the group leader. Tiba-tiba dia lain dia punya, you can see a change of behavior. So I'm not sure if you can do that, but you can also try that. Another one is peer evaluation, which is also quite true, like what PM Dr. Rashikin mentioned. Cuma peer evaluation pun kadang-kadang student don't care, you know, yang bermasalah ni biasanya dia tak kisah, dapat kosong ke, volunteer dia tak kisah. But it's a form of moderation and it's a good way. Tapi kalau yang betul-betul masalah jadi, you can try my method. Form a group and then you become part of the group member. I just shared this yesterday on my tu juga, and I noticed there's a change of behavior bila you are taking charge of that, and then slowly you, like I told you tadi lah, scaffold for success tu. Once you notice that they are doing it quite okay, you start to let go a bit, alright, and maybe you can start electing a new leader among themselves, and you can see why. And I think the whole thing is like they need to know that you care about dia punya process of learning lah, in a way. Cuma yalah, siapa larat nak monitor so many students kan? Kalau setakat 5 or 6 maybe okay lah, tapi kalau dah ramai sangat like that, you might want to try peer evaluation, or make sure that you another one that I showed you tadi tu, yang this group project yang tadi, yang another one is you assign role tu, yang ni. Another strategy that I did was, kalau ni group project lah, bila you dah assign the role, the prime, protector, thinker, maker, energizer for example, bila you bagi rubrics, your rubric itself will tell apa prime kena buat, apa protector kena buat, thinker kena buat, maker kena buat, energizer buat. So rubric tu dah bagi tahu. So kalau part tu tak buat, then you know who lah, and that person will be penalized. So when you spell out like that, then they become aware that they are contributing to the part. And then dah terang-terang dia tak buat, means dia tak akan dapat dia tak akan contribute to the team lah. But my point is, that is one part of penalizing, or you know, trying to cross and check. But what is more important is whether or not yang bermasalah ni, all these sleeping partner ni are really learning. Alright, so tu yang susah sikit lah. Kalau kita betul-betul nak assess in terms of differentiating mana yang okay, mana yang tak okay, tu okay, we can still do it. Tapi kalau kita nak make sure that yang bermasalah ni learn, yang tu yang we need to do a bit more lah, which is going to be time consuming. Like I told you tadi, like in my case, I memang pernah buat a few times already. Mana-mana yang ada masalah ni, I group them, I jadi leader, and then I have to guide them almost every week. Macam I pula jadi student, alright? Because how to put it, they need to see the point of why they're doing this and why other people are not wanting them and all that. But I do appreciate all these students, because after like week 7 like that, middle of the semester, you can see the change. Then you can let go already. You can kind of let them lead on their own. So that's one way. Because sometimes they just need the mentor to guide them. Bukan dia tak nak buat sangat, cuma dia tak tahu mana nak start. Sometimes lah. Okay. Oh, ada lagi tak? I hope I answer your question. Tapi memang susah lah jawapan tu. Memang susah nak tu. How do you handle activities for a large group? Small number of students equal a lot of group to handle. Small number of groups, too many students in one. I don't know about UTM punya policy. We kind of have a policy. A minimum class size is 50. Asalnya kalau terlalu sikit tak boleh. Dia kena macam 50 lah. So kalau besar okay. Maksudnya cannot be too small. Our policy ni lain sikit. Sebab we are lacking of lecturers, I think. So depending on how your administrative policy is in terms of the grouping or class management, kalau you have the chance, I would rather, for online setting, I would rather go for a lot of groups but small number of students. Right? Cuma that would take more effort, and that's where the recorded video sometimes will help, because you don't have to repeat a lot of things from many times, but you spend time like bila live tu memang buat activity sahaja. Then you get a variety, and then you don't feel bored as well, because different group will give you different punya outcome kan, in a way, because you get their different views. Tapi kalau we come in and we just lecture a lot, kita akan rasa sangat-sangat letih, because bayangkan you have to repeat. Let's say kalau ada 5 group, you kena repeat 5 kali. Kalau kita ada video to cover that, we can tell them, all these are pre-recorded. So all the 5 group tu will listen to your video or will watch your video. Dan bila kita masuk kelas, kita spend time on doing it. So it will be like maybe 2 hours and all that. But again, depend on your university punya policy in terms of this as well. In our case, memang kita tak dapat. We don't have a say in changing it. But if I were given a large group, I would normally chunk it myself lah in a way. Cuma yalah, letih lah. Memang akan rasa letih sikit. Sebab small number of groups to many students pun susah juga. In the end, kan, the workload when it comes to the assessment MBA tu, you akan rasa macam sama je. Tak ada beza sangat. In fact, it might be even more challenging if you are doing it in a big group. Alright. But big is also quite relative. Some people can cope up to 100. Some people cannot cope even 50. So again, very relative punya answer. I cannot say, like a magic number and all that. But yeah, I think hopefully, yeah. How to detect plagiarism for online? Yang ni macam plagiarism issue ni. Especially for large class. Is there any software that can detect for multiple PDF? Yang ni actually the one yang I saw the other day, tapi tak accurate, and it also depends on the quality of the JPEG and PDF. So tapi kalau PDF turn in boleh sebenarnya, cuma JPEG je sahaja yang kurang. Kalau ada turn in kan, kalau di UTM ada turn in bagus, sebab turn in can actually detect JPEG. I'm not sure if you're using other software lah. Sorry, turn in can detect PDF bukan JPEG. JPEG yang tak boleh di-detect. Okay, sorry, just to clarify that. So JPEG tu gambar kan. So what happen is software yang ada sekarang ni memang tak mampu lagi nak convert terus ke text and then try to do checking. Cuma kalau ada pun yang the one I saw pun memang tak berapa accurate, sebab it depends on a lot of things. Kalau student tu type okay, tapi kalau dia start to write using their handwriting, tu lagi susah. So how to detect tu, I'm not sure how to answer that question. Cuma you have to use software lah kalau nak cepat. Kalau tak, memang kena manual lah, meaning we are the one who actually do the manual screening. Alright. Sebab large group tu memang letih lah, to be honest. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the software, but there is one software yang apa ni, yang detect JPEG tu hari tu. Cuma I notice dia tak accurate sebab I dah try, and maybe I search sekejap, tapi tak tepat lah, and then you end up kena buat manual juga. Okay, tapi PDF I think turn it in boleh, you can try turn it in. Memang PDF is one of the allowed punya format. Mana dah. Okay. Yang ni. Flag Hunter, tapi dia tak berapa. This is image plagiarism checker. Alright, image punya. Dia memang try to check the image punya tu. Satu lagi key text ke apa, jap. Tak ada, yang ni lain. Okay. But it's not accurate. Another way is of course to convert the JPEG to PDF dulu. But then again, it depends on the conversion. So kalau handwriting tu memang tak dapat lah. Okay. I think this is what issue kan. Like I told you, kalau online learning ni, the key issue is still key issue is still the assessment. And like even what we are doing here with all these escape rooms semua ni, all this assessment, alternative assessment, is still a lot. There's a lot of human intervention kan, human punya manual checking. Kalau tak, memang you get all kinds of plagiarized work, especially kalau dalam IT semua ni, coding dia kan sama, right? They copy paste, right? Yeah, it depends on the quality memang. JPEG memang memang susah. I think a lot of cikgu-cikgu di sekolah pun they are asking for this sebab teachers are using this kan, WhatsApp semua tu dia hantar, lepas tu dia nak student tulis, lepas tu hantar balik, so they want to check. So pun a lot of issue. So basically you need the OCR lah kan, to convert to soft text. Yang tu jadi isu pula nanti. Okay. So yang tu I'm not in a position to answer directly, but I can suggest you can try Black Hunter tu. Cuma to me memang tak accurate. Alright. Okay. This is why I think we try to, I don't know, we try our best to have smaller groups so that easier for us to monitor all this issue. Kalau tak memang susah. I don't know about you, Tem, in terms of the class size. Kalau you know, like in UNIMAS, a lot of lecturers yang mengajar kelas besar-besar ni memang they revert to ni project based lah, and then they require every student to present and all that. So that's one of the ways that lecturers are doing to encourage students to participate and also to be more responsible lah. Sebab kalau yang jenis individual assignment yang tulis-tulis ni, most of the time you'll be the same. Tapi kalau type, okay, you can still check using Turnitin. So the student are aware of that. Cuma yang tulis tangan tu lah, yang macam algorithm or even calculation and all that, that will be quite tricky for you to check. Any other question, just in case? Yep, it's still an issue. I really hope, I don't know how it's going to solve this, but I think it will take technology lah to do this. So hopefully we will have more tools yang boleh scan picture, yang you know, yang boleh do all this. Hopefully it really triggers more idea on that. Cuma yalah, we don't know when. Any other question, just in case? No?
Maybe I have one question.
Can.
I just want to ask. Okay, I would like to apply the jigsaw method.
Yeah, the jigsaw method.
In real class setting, it's not that hard because you just simply divide them.
Yeah.
But if in online setting, especially when I have 50 or 60 students, it's quite hard to divide them because usually we will divide them according to topics because they will then go around and explain. Even if I do it in breakout room, what I found is that not all students will participate because we can't cover so much topics. So the topics, let's say, will be 4 or 5. So there will be a lot of students for one topic.
Yeah.
So do you have any maybe suggestions on how to implement it?
I think the only way, I mean, not to say the only way, one of the feasible way is still to, you really have to split the group lah in a way, because the nature of the task itself memang require them to how to put it, to discuss in a smaller group and all that. So I have not discovered any tools which can actually facilitate this, but perhaps by, I don't know, by, well, normally how do you do it? Do you do it together, right? I mean, one session, right?
Online or live
Online,
session?
online.
Right. If online, usually what I'll do is I'll divide them into groups, and then I will give them a platform which is Padlet
Okay.
to share whatever resources.
Okay.
But like I said, not everyone is contributing.
Yeah. And then you want them to explain to other group as well, right?
Yeah.
Because
true.
because of the situation, you know, they are everywhere. They are not together. That's the hard part. Because the nature of this jigsaw thingy is like they have to be physically close in a way, because they have to move around, right? In a normal classroom, they can move around from one group to another group, from one table to another table. So in an online setting, it will be quite hard to do it. One way to probably solve this, like I told you, you have to really make it smaller, but that would also means you have to do double work, and yeah, it will not meet whatever you want to do with the jigsaw thingy lah. You know, the jigsaw activity that you're doing. I have not tried this virtually actually. I've done it in class. I've not done it in virtual. But anyone else maybe have tried? I don't know. But as far as I know, it's quite challenging to do it, because a lot of active learning strategies are really meant for physical setting, because they are done in such a way, or they are inspired in such a way from all this in-person interaction. So the moment we turn online, it's very hard for us to execute as it is. So maybe your jigsaw will be you know, a different type of jigsaw lah, not the real jigsaw, where or instead of they hunting for reading material, you can assign reading material to every group first, maybe pre-class, and then they come and then they find more. I don't know, but again, that's not the whole essence of jigsaw, right? So yeah, I don't really have a clear answer for that. But
That's all right.
I do admire your effort to try it out virtually, but as far as I have, you know, encountered, memang I tak pernah buat lagi lah for virtual.
Look, because I'm not sure if there is any other alternative, because basically the goal is that I wanted them to do the learning and then teaching to the others. So basically I just want that concept. So it doesn't necessarily be jigsaw, but I couldn't seem to find or think of any other type of activities.
Because they are not close to each other. That's the problem. And when, let's say, they want to discuss with another partner, and then the other partner will tell them, okay, I'm busy, you know, I'm doing something else. You know, it's very hard. And they once they are not ready, then when they come to your session, they don't feel like they want to share, because they know they're not ready, things like that. So in a normal face-to-face teaching, it will be easier to control that, because you can give them time and discuss among themselves. You know, in the classroom itself, and you are there. They are monitored. So yeah, I mean, another way maybe, if you can improve in terms of assigning them earlier, and then do the discussion before that, and then when they come, they teach. Instead of you start the session, they start the session. So there could be one way, I don't know, but again, it's still very experimental kind of thing. So you have to experiment and see whether it works. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I'll keep that in mind. Yeah. Any other question from the audience? No.
No. Okay.
All right. I think if there's no more question, I think we can end the session. So again, I would like to thank Mr. Chuah for your sharing and all your valuable experience. I think it's been a fun session. Maybe if we have a chance later on, we can do this again. I think a lot of them are quite interested with your escape room. I've tried one of the escape room that Mr. Chuah made, and yeah, I think it's one way. It's a fun way to learn. So maybe we can have, I don't know, a session on that as well. So all right. Again, thank you very much, Mr. Chuah. For the attendees, I did give the link for the attendance. could you please fill it in for the CPD points? All right. So thank you, Mr. Chuah Kee Man.
Yeah, I just shared one of the paper as well. I have a few more later on. I probably post it somewhere. But this one paper also explain how students actually prefer live lectures, and I don't know why, surprisingly, but this is foreign. We don't have one in Malaysia yet. Maybe somebody need to do this to check on Malaysian student. Even in UNIMAS, our own survey, memang student prefer live because I think they are so used to seeing us online and all that. So I think this is a reason why a lot of lecturers are not doing pre-recorded videos because they are more, they are more comfortable doing the live teaching and all that, and students prefer that as well. But pre-recorded video has its benefit, like I told you. So just balance up lah, the pre-recorded video and also the active learning punya session. So yeah, just to share some of those. I have a few more. I'll put, maybe this chat probably will be there a while, I think. So I just shared it here. But in case you want to do research on Google Scholar or Science Direct, there are quite a number of studies done on synchronous and asynchronous studies. Asynchronous are good for distant learning because mostly for adult learners, they notice, because adult learners, like all these working adults, they don't have time to have classes like this. But for university students and all that, or even school leaver, they like this because they're so used to having lectures, so they love to see you teaching live, things like that. Okay, and that's all from me. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you everyone.
Yep. Oops.